everybody. It's been that kind of a day, so we're just rolling with it. I'm Natalie Bencavanga, and we are so happy that you're joining us. And you guys all know Desmond Price of Independent Thought. We've got a lot to talk about today, so let's just cut to the chase and get right in. Things we're going to focus on. Oh, make it stop. I want off this ride, Desmond, because Trump is now talking about a third term. I think we all saw that coming. We're going to dive into what that means and why we are all trapped in hell. We're also going to talk about why Trump has decided to end removing medical debt off of people's credit reports. This was something that Biden had put into play before he left office, and now Trump is undoing this, like he has been undoing everything. Then we're going to discuss about ICE is starting to use AI to survey social media, why you should be concerned about this, because I know I am. And finally, what has been going on with Venezuela? There has been a lot of things that are happening with this nation and with our American military that are absolutely atrocious. And yet I don't see a lot of activity about this online, and neither has Desmond in terms of mainstream media coverage. So we're going to talk a little bit about why Trump wants to go to war suddenly with this nation. Hint, hint, it has to do with their oil. But anyway, let's start with Trump and this third term, if you'd like to kick us off, Desmond.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of chatter about Trump and a third term. You know, we saw hints about this earlier in the year when he was putting out Trump 2028 hats onto, his merch site. And then we have Steve Bannon now 3 separate times doing interviews talking about how he is going to be the president in 2028. Not that he'll just run again, but that he will be the president in 2028. People have obviously pushed back on him saying, hey, there's a 22nd Amendment. He can't do that. Steve Bannon would retort that, well, there's different ways that we can get around that, and we'll unveil our plans soon here. Donald Trump has been asked about this now and said that, quote, he hadn't really thought about it, but added, I would love to do it. I have my best numbers ever. So he is definitely floating it. Someone pressed him a little bit further and asked him about it again, and he said, am I ruling it out? You'll have to tell me.
Wow.
So that's where we are right now. So I would say that this is something that they are pursuing. I truly believe that this is something they're going to pursue. Unfortunately, there are different ways that they can game the Constitution in order to make this happen. I wrote about this on my Substack earlier this year, but I'll get into that more in a little bit. Before I do that, Natalie, what are your thoughts when you hear about Donald Trump saying that he doesn't really care what the Constitution says?
I mean, this tracks. I mean, he hasn't cared about the Constitution for how many years now? So why would he start now? I just think it's funny because every time they say, oh, we would never do this, you know exactly that that's what they're going to do. This is a group of bad kids.
Yeah, and Roe is settled law.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. I think what is annoying to me about this is, why is the mainstream media not covering this in the way that it needs to be covered, which is the pushback and the explanation around why this shouldn't be allowed or wouldn't be allowed under any other president at all? Can you imagine if Biden said, "Oh, I'm just gonna run for a third term," or if Obama said this? I mean, they would all hit the roof. I don't understand why the rules do not seem to apply to this man. And what bothered me the most about this, though, to your point, is I do think they are going to pursue this. One, because as long as Trump's in office, he has immunity from all the crimes that he is committing. So I'm sure that's a reason he wants to stay in power. And two, it's good for the Republicans because as long as Trump's in power, they actually don't have to govern or do anything because he's rewriting laws and ignoring laws left and right, and they're getting paid to absolutely sit on their hands. But what Mike Johnson said recently was the most chilling thing to me, was that he's talked about this with the president. And he said, we know that there's a lot of constriction around the Constitution. And I thought that was such an interesting choice of words, because when you think of constriction, you really think of almost being suffocated, almost as though the Constitution is suffocating their president, which leads me to think that they would want to do things to alleviate that kind of suffocation. So I am very concerned, but I'm more concerned at how the media continues to normalize this through offering up polls or providing airtime for this kind of conversation, but without any of that context or understanding of our history or our Constitution.
If you are in the chat right now, if you're watching this video, if you are concerned about the fact that the media has been kind of treating this as like just another story and not that big of a deal. Please let me know in the comments right now. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Tell me what you think about Donald Trump potentially seeking a third term. Are you worried about it? I know that I am, and I do believe that Donald Trump is going to try to find a way to finesse this. The Republicans desperately want to keep this guy in power because they don't have to justify anything that they're doing as long as he is the avatar of the Republican Party. You know, like they have already seen what the future looks like for them when they had 7 or 8 different people running for the Republican ticket just last year and in 2023, and they saw that they had basically zero juice and there was no real person who was going to be the heir apparent to Donald Trump. So they're kind of worried about what the future looks like. They're going to ride this Trump train all the way to the end. So what will it look like? It's hard to say, but there are mechanisms in place where essentially that Donald Trump does not have to be elected and still can become the president, unfortunately. That's kind of like the caveat there, is that the 22nd Amendment doesn't allow someone to be elected a third time. But you can become the president without being elected. And I think that's one of the ways that they're going to try to game the system, so to speak. So we will see in time, Natalie. But unfortunately, there are just too many Trump stories to kind of just focus on one today, isn't there?
Unfortunately, that is correct. And so we're going to, great segue into the next one. And this one is focused on something that just broke today, which is all over the news. This article comes from Newsweek. Millions could see medical debt added to credit reports under the Trump plan. The Trump administration is set to issue new guidance prohibiting states from removing medical debt from consumers' credit reports. 15 states, including California, Colorado, and Maine, have passed laws to limit medical debt reporting. But the Fair Credit Reporting Act, a federal credit reporting law, generally preempts state laws that touch on broad areas of credit report. Newsweek has reached out to the White House, but they have yet to respond. Medical debt is one of the leading causes of financial insecurity for American families, with Americans owing collectively, Desmond, $220 million in medical debt. It appears on the credit reports of about 15 million people, which prevents them from securing loans, buying a house, or getting a credit card. And advocates have warned the new rule would undo protections in those 15 states aimed to protect consumers and worsen the burden of medical debt for many Americans. Before I share my thoughts, Desmond, visceral reactions.
If you know somebody, yourself or someone in your family or friends, who is affected by medical debt, please let me know in the comments below. I will tell you that it affects me personally. I am one of those 15 million people. I've had thousands and thousands of dollars worth of medical debt that has prevented me from getting, places that I wanted to live, getting certain things that I need from the bank, certain loans. It has kept me living in places longer than I've ever wanted to. It has been a constant, just like albatross around my entire life. Yeah. So when this came down previously, this forgiveness, it really was a huge deal for me in my life. So now that's being reversed. So who knows what's going to happen next as far as my credit score is concerned and everything that kind of comes with that. I mean, medical bankruptcy is the number one cause of bankruptcy in America. That's right. And so many people find themselves, we constantly are seeing this like rise in like homelessness here in America and rise of people just like living like paycheck to paycheck. That number just keeps going up. How many people are doing that? There is a totality to all of this. Like this is what happens over time when you just kind of get people just get pinched and pinched and pinched and pinched and pinched. So many different ways that people are just being pushed to the margins. And like, yeah, you have one bad day, you get sick or you get an injury, you get into an accident, and then you can accrue just life-changing amounts of debt and you never get out from under it. For the crime of what? Yeah. Of what? Of getting sick? Of being in an accident? No, this is one of the reasons why I constantly talk about things like universal health care, because we shouldn't live in a country where this is even a thing. And Donald Trump, thought that it just wasn't fair to the debt collectors, to the hospitals that make millions and millions of dollars every single year, to the medical industry that makes billions of dollars in profit every year. He made sure to look out for them than to look out for everyone else who was struggling to get by. And that tells you everything you really need to know about who he really cares about and what his goals are.
Yeah, medical debt is a uniquely American experience, right? Other countries have figured this out. The line that I wanted to go back to was that he's set to issue new guidance prohibiting states this is the party of states' rights. They're all over states' rights until it's something like this, Desmond, where it's about putting more pressure on the American people, on our ability to live a full life. To me, and I don't think it is radical to say this, this is a form of indentured servitude. This is a form of enslavement to millions of people, because you just hit the nail on the head. If you can't ever get out from under this, then you do not have control over your own life, your own destiny, your own ability to fulfill your dreams or live in your full sense as a human being. And so you are beholden forever to these debtors. To me, anybody can see that this is not sustainable. It's not a path forward for anyone. And the only people that win out, once again, are large corporations and conglomerates who absolutely do not act in the interest of the people. And I am so tired of it being this radical idea that we put people over profits. And I know we say that line and people think you're, oh, you're just one of those feel good, whatever kind of hippy dippy people. No, people over profits changes people's lives. And the fact that Biden did this on his way out was like that little shred of humanity that maybe he had left that Trump just doesn't possess. And here we are seeing it being pushed back on so quickly. This actually made me so angry, but physically sick, because this is going to impact people in such a long lasting way. And it continues to do so. And we just can't get anything. This isn't even about wiping out medical debt. This is, can you please not put this on my credit report?
Right.
And don't get me started on credit reports, because we did fine without those for how long that now we need those things too. I think those are just racist, misogynistic pieces that keep people from buying anything. So that allows the ruling class to remain the ruling class and look and be shaped the way they want it to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, my just main takeaway from all of this is, it is just, I wish that these were the stories that were put front and center across the feeds of people who are Trump supporters. There are so many of them who constantly talk about how great Trump is. Like, I've been on Facebook more recently.
Oh, I know, you shouldn't do that.
I've been on Facebook more recently, and I've been trying to grow an account over there. Mm-hmm. And so I've been inundated just with so many different just posts. Facebook's recommending here, you like politics, here's this post. Like over 90% of them have been conservative. Over 90% of them have been conservative. And it's just a constant barrage of lies and just sucking off Trump. It's all so gross. Mm-hmm. And I just wish that the people who constantly were inundated with all of that Trump is the savior nonsense, I wish they would see these stories. I really do. I just wish that they would see these stories. Explain this to me. Explain how your God, your deity, did this, and then justify it to me. I just really want these people to explain it to me.
No, I'm in the same boat. I'm on Facebook, and it's like I'm the biggest masochist in the world, I guess, when I'm over there, because the way people treat you and talk to you when you're just trying to explain to them how this is hurting them, it's wild to me. It's like Stockholm syndrome. They've identified with their captor, and that's where they're at. And Jackie Kerr's right. Preach credit reports just punish the poor. When I was in grad school, my one teacher in one of my classes, she said, it's really expensive to be poor in this country. And I really didn't understand what she meant. And as an adult, I very much now understand what she was saying. And there is this anger and this disdain and this, I'm seeing it right now because of all the stuff happening with Snap, how much vitriol there is towards people in need. It's disturbing. It's disturbing. And I think this is a good sort of dovetail into what we're going to be talking about next, because there is too much concern over what one another is doing, right? We are too involved and too much caring about what this person's eating, what this person's doing with any of their support structures, what this person does in their bedroom. There's a lot of concern from the party that talks about being the party of freedom. They're very involved in everybody's day-to-day right now, which I find disturbing. But then, of course, it makes sense why they love ICE, because they align with this idea of attack first, figure it out later. And now, according to a bunch of different outlets, ICE is going to be using AI to survey social media. This is very, very concerning. Critics are saying that the AI-driven software is going to target immigrants. How they're going to do that, I don't know, for political speech, Desmond. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has inked a new $5 million contract, $5.7 million for AI-driven social media surveillance software, according to federal procurement records reviewed by the Lever. It's the latest move in the agency's ongoing quest to build out a social media surveillance dragnet. This is a 5-year contract with government technology middleman Carasoft Technology, which went public in September, that provides ICE licenses for a product called Signal with a Z Labs, a social media monitoring platform used by, wait for it, the Israeli military and the Pentagon. People have been warning us for a long time that they practice over there and they bring it over here. And I think we're seeing this once again playing out in real time. The Signal Labs leverages artificial intelligence and machine learning to analyze over 8 billion with a B social media posts per day, providing curated detection feeds for its clients. It allows law enforcement to detect and respond to threats with greater clarity and speed. If this doesn't send chills up and down your spine, I don't know what will, because if this takes root, this could be the end of us sharing information digitally, period. I got nothing.
Yeah, so it's a conflicting place for me to be.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, this is not really new news.
Mm-hmm.
Let me explain what I mean by that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
As somebody who has been trying to do political content creation for quite a few years now, you come to the understanding that the government has been monitoring us without warrants forever.
Yeah.
This is something that was installed with the Patriot Act. It was enhanced with the NDAA under the Obama administration. These things have been re-signed into law under Donald Trump, under Joe Biden, under Donald Trump again. So this is actually bipartisan government surveillance, particularly. So this is just the next wave of government surveillance. So to me, I'm not trying to downplay it as if it doesn't matter. I think it's always mattered. I'm just saying that it's not new news. So what I do hope here, though, is that I hope that this is like a moment for somebody, because there's always a certain moment, I would hope, for certain people when they would hear about government surveillance, that they have something come across their mind where they're like, that's a problem. Maybe we shouldn't be okay with this. Because I feel like, unfortunately, our country, our society, has gotten more and more okay with it as time has gone on. So many people are complacent about the fact that government is just able to surveil us all the time, whenever they want to, without any reason, however they want to, and use it against us. I have seen attitudes just shift in a more and more kind of like blasé nature towards that as the years have gone on. And I just really hope that at some point, something shakes people awake and says, you know what? Actually, no, we shouldn't be okay with this, because they shouldn't be able to just watch everything that we're doing, monitor everything we're doing, and then weaponize that against us on a daily basis. And that's what they've always done. So if you haven't had that moment yet, I hope that you are having that moment now.
I hear you, but I agree with Carol here. She says this is going to make it so much easier. This is on a different level to me. Like 8 billion posts a day. The government was never able to work at this level before. This is so beyond the scope, Desmond. And then this is also, this September notice appears to be, according to this article, the first indication that ICE has had access to this. So now what we're talking about is this military that is supporting Trump, right? Because he's given them a military-sized budget in the billions. And now they're going to have access to survey this technology utilizing what the Pentagon uses when these things should not be aligning in such a way. To your point, I agree. This is not new on the surface, but the way that this is being utilized in this moment, it is new, and it is a new level of insanity. And I think, to your point, there has been this blasé energy, or of course the bots and the right are going to say, well, if you don't post anything bad, then you don't have to worry, which we know where that's going to lead. So
Right.
that's where I'm concerned.
And unfortunately, I feel like I was hearing that same type of energy from people when Joe Biden was in power. It's like, oh, but if you're not doing anything wrong, then why would you be worried? It's just like, it feels like that attitude resonates with the voter base that is currently in power. And once a Democrat takes power again, then the Trump voters will feel the opposite way, and then back and forth and back and forth. And this is my just a general problem with it. I don't care who's in office.
Totally.
We should all be concerned with the government having that type of access to our lives, and they can do so without any reason. And just to kind of give more clarity here, because of things like DARPA that we have in our government, they are always having technology 10, 15 years in advance before the public ever really knows about it. And these are people who spend billions and billions of dollars on surveillance, domestic surveillance, every single year. And due to the Patriot Act, these different agencies have always been able to talk to each other. And so ICE being a form of DHS, they have had this access before. I think what's really happening here is that the public is just hearing about it now. So this is becoming more public, as before it was more private. What we're seeing right now is a more brazen, just in your face, like, hey, we've always been doing this, but now we're letting you know that we're doing it because now we think that we have the ability to kind of put this out in the open. There's not going to be any backlash for it.
I think that's the key fear here, is where is the backlash? Because to your point, the people in power, they love this. They love it. So how are we going to undo this? This is what concerns me about all of this with the Trump administration, or the regime, however you want to look at it. Someday they aren't going to be in power, but the level of untangling that we're going to have to do, it's only going to happen if that pendulum swings really far the other way and we end up with like an AOC style president. It's not going to get untangled if we end up with another Joe Biden, to your point, because this is two sides of the same coin. Both want to survey the American people. And I don't want us to not have enough time to talk about the last topic. So as much as we could discuss this forever, let's kick it off and discuss what is going on in Venezuela. This is something that has been flying under the radar. You've been talking about it a lot. There's a lot of facets to this, but please, let's cook on it a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm trying to give you as many of the important details as you need to know. So Donald Trump and our military have been carrying out strikes on boats off the coast of Venezuela. Their reason to the media has been that these are people who are running drugs into America. These are fentanyl dealers. They are narco-terrorists, as they are being labeled, and that these people are bringing fentanyl into America. And we're doing a good thing. We are stopping these fentanyl dealers from bringing fentanyl into our country. That is the guise under which they are operating. Well, there are reports coming out now. This is reported by Dropsite News. They have spoken to people within the Defense Department who are now directly contradicting the claims by Donald Trump and his White House. They are saying that there actually is no evidence whatsoever that any fentanyl that's coming into America is being produced in Venezuela. This was actually also echoed by Senator Rand Paul, a Republican, who went on to Fox News and directly called out the administration, saying that there is no evidence of this whatsoever, that Venezuela is doing this, and that you are killing people without any due process. So what's happening here is that we have no idea who these people are. For all we know, these are just innocent fishermen on boats outside of Venezuela who the United States military is conducting airstrikes against, saying that they are terrorists, when for all we know, they could be anybody, because the Trump administration refuses to give us any information. They just basically are saying, trust us, bro, which I find to be just so crazy on so many different levels, especially due to the fact that one of the main people who is kind of like facilitating all this right now is the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who said that, the reason why she got into politics was because she needed to stop all these forever wars. And now it seems like Donald Trump actually wants to do a land invasion of Venezuela. They have been talking about how they want to get rid of Nicolas Maduro, the current leader of the country. There's talks they want to install a more favorable leader for them. And Trump has said multiple times that he wants to get the oil. He said in a rally that, like, oh, Venezuela, when I was about to leave, they were ready to fold. We would have had access to all the oil. It would have been great. He literally said that in a rally. And so I think that is where we are right now. We are seeing Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He is going out there and just basically removing all of the aid from the surrounding nations, which is normally something that you would see before a strike were to come. So we could be moments away from a actual invasion of Venezuela. This is a massive story, and it feels like it's like maybe 7th or 8th on the list of things that people are talking about. And that is blowing my mind because we might be actually on the precipice of another Iraq style of invasion. And it feels like it's like barely even making your ticker level of news right now.
Couple of things, and all of this is just, oh God. It almost feels like when we're talking about these fossil fuels, it's like they're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Like this is an exercise in futility. They're just trying to pull everything, every dollar that they can out of these products. So that to me is just so sick on every level. The second part of this that's interesting to me, I have two questions. First of all, can a president stay in power if we're at war, even if it goes beyond his term? Is that part of something?
I don't actually know if that's true or not.
And I've been reading that, so I have to do more digging into that. And I was curious if you had any thoughts on that. So I will do a little more info because that's something I'm not sure about either. But it's been floating around, which could be part of the reason why he's doing this. And the other question I have is, I had read that those men, one in particular was a very well-known fisherman that was known to the village off the coast of Venezuela. It was a huge loss to the community. He was someone that was valued and loved by his neighbors. Isn't that like a war crime? Like, I'm just confused, Desmond, because you can't just kill. Like a country just can't decide to bomb my neighborhood because they think there's drugs here and it not be considered like a crime if in fact there's nothing going on. So to me, that's the part that I'm really angry about that we're not talking about, because these are war crimes being committed by the United States military using our taxpayer dollars while our people are on the brink of starving because suddenly SNAP's about to run out. Like, I know all of these things, it's hard to connect them, but it's really not. It's like what we have money for and what we don't, Desmond.
If I were to ask anyone, what is the most heinous crime that you can commit as a human being? I would guarantee that 99 or 999 out of 1,000 people would say murder.
Yeah.
Just pretty common answer to that question.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about the United States military murdering people for no reason other than they are trying to set up their eventual invasion of a country where they're going to murder more people. And it is not getting almost any coverage whatsoever. That is blowing my mind. It absolutely is blowing my mind. And I am begging people to talk about it more. I am talking about it on Instagram, on Threads, on YouTube, on TikTok, like everywhere that I can post things. I've been talking about it recently. I really need more people to talk about this because this is essentially what happened with Iraq. They made up a bullshit reason about why they were going to invade a country. Then they did invade that country and they destabilized it. Iraq hasn't been the same since, regardless of how you felt about Saddam Hussein.
Right.
The question really becomes is like, what is the right way to go about doing something? And did we have a right to be there? And was there a good reason for going there in the first place? George W. Bush made up a reason to go into a country, invaded said country, and then over 1 million Iraqis died. 1 million. Like people are talking about how many deaths we had in COVID, how much of a travesty that was. That's how many people died in Iraq when George W. Bush decided to send our military over there. Like Venezuela could have a very similar fate. And yet people are kind of like, is that going on? Oh, okay. Like I know we're all receiving a lot of whiplash from the news cycle right now, but this should be a top story, everyone. Like I need more people talking about this.
I mean, Desmond, we've never even had a national day of grief for COVID. So talk about the level of desensitization over mass death and disableization of people, right? We are already so beyond caring about our own people that the idea that we would be surprised that people aren't reacting to this. I mean, I think this just shows you the level of desensitization we now have towards human life. And once again, I don't think any of these things exist in a silo. I think all of these things have to happen in a certain order in order to get to a place where you can say we're invading a country because, and we're starving our own people at the same time because we don't care about human life because of these things that have happened that we refuse to acknowledge or deal with.
Right.
This is all connected. And so to your point, I am also horrified by the fact that we are once again possibly entering another war that could further destabilize a part of the world that we really have no business being involved in, especially considering all of the things we've done to these countries in the past that have caused it to get to the level of destabilization that it is for some of these nations. That's on us too. Like you could just take this further and further back, all of the things that the American military has been involved in that has caused more problems around the world and has done very little to solve things. So
yeah,
this is all very disturbing all the way around. You guys, we have to kind of cut it short tonight. But we appreciate all of you so much for being here with us. Before we leave, Desmond, do you have any movie recommendations for people? Just quick.
Movie.
I know you've been doing your poll. Mm-hmm. Anything that you've seen that you've actually liked?
I really liked Black Swan.
Shut up! You really did?
I really did.
I love Black Swan. I'm just surprised you did.
I really liked it a lot.
I love your movie. I love your movie choices.
It's top 5 now, actually. Yeah,
it's very good. It's very good.
You know what? I was very surprised. Because we watched the trailer for the movie before we actually ended up watching it. And when I was watching the trailer, I was like, I have no idea what this movie is supposed to be. And just for quick context for people who are still watching, my partner and I bought this 100 movie poster. It's like a little scratch off thingy. After you watch a movie, you scratch it off. There's a little picture behind. It's just a cute little thing that we're trying to do as a couple. So we are going through these movies, watching them, rating them, giving our reviews to each other. It's a fun thing that we thought we could do together. We are 41 movies in, and yeah, Black Swan is currently number 5 on the list through the first 41. So yeah, it's interesting. It's forced me to watch a bunch of movies that I always told myself I'll watch that at some point, and then never did. Or movies I've just never heard of before, like The Graduates, which
I can't listen. We're never going to agree on that one, and it's okay.
Horrendous movie.
Well, I had a fun movie pick that I'll just share very quickly. I saw The Lair of the White Worm, which is a 1988 supernatural comedy horror film by Ken Russell, who is a freak. He's somebody that has critiqued Catholicism. He hates religion. It's a lot of sex and violence, but it's set in the 80s, and it's about a giant worm that takes the form of a woman, and her name is Sylvia in the film, but she is so hot, and it's played by Amanda Donoghue, and I could understand why she was probably the it girl of the era, because she is evil and sexy in all the right ways. So it's a cult classic. It is a cult classic. It is very 80s and it is so campy. And it was the perfect, I didn't want to watch anything really scary over the holiday, over the Halloween weekend, I guess you could say, even though it's Friday. Yeah. But my husband was like, I think you'll really like The Lair of the White Worm. And he was right. So if you want something campy and very 80s, go for it.
All right. Well, we will be back with some more movie recommendations and some more news next week. If you haven't already, please go ahead and hit the top of the screen right here. You can subscribe to both of our newsletters, and I want to thank everyone who was sitting here watching today. If you left some comments, if you're watching the playback here, thank you so much for watching through all of this, and we will see you in our next conversation.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Desmond.